It is a very different day today. And you can see for yourself how it is. You can hear for yourself how it is. Although you're listening to me, you could be listening to yourself. Yeah. You could say, perhaps you're listening to me instead of to yourself. Okay, well, in that case, there's hope for you, because maybe this listening to me is going to stimulate you to listen to yourself. You know, I was talking with my wife about something which perhaps might be of interest to you. When you see food, yeah, certain food, you see it, yeah. You see a pastry, or you see I don't know, delicious dish with what is it, chicken or or pork. Yeah, if you are a vegetarian, then perhaps you see a delicious dish with garbanzo beans. But perhaps you won't have as much of a sensation as those people that eat meat. I don't know. I'm just saying, you know. It seems to me that vegetarian food is always kind of bland. But maybe that's just me. But I'm not a vegetarian. But in any case, when you see food, there's of course visual stimuli. Yeah, you see it, and then of course food has a smell. It smells good, and you like to smell it. Oh, it smells good. It smells like fresh roasted chicken. or roasted pork. Oh my gosh. That tastes so good. And so there's also the smell, and then when you taste it, yeah, then you put it in your mouth, and then your taste buds are tasting it, and then so you get the taste of it. So you get when you eat, if you have something that smells good and it tastes good and looks good, you are affected by 3 different types of stimuli, and perhaps even more, because you also say, oh, that is, you know, that is roasted pork. That's a big thing, by the way, in Chinese culture. My wife is Chinese, and yeah, you know, and Peking duck, you know, roasted duck is also a big thing. But yeah, you know, all these things are so then you are talking about what is it, what's the roasted pork again? It's called chow siu. That's one of those things, one of those very few things that I know in Chinese, in Cantonese. Chow siu, I believe it is called chow siu, if I'm correct. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't claim to be an expert. But in any case, in that sense, there would also be an English verbal reference to this delicious dish, as well as a Cantonese, yeah, and and perhaps seeing your being in Chinatown also enhances it. You know, if I go to Chinatown in Oakland, then you kind of, just by walking around there, you already feel like, oh, there's all this good food around here. and also, of course, seeing my Chinese in-laws, my wife's family, her mother and her sister, they're also really into the Chinese food, and we always eat Chinese together. And so all of these are stimuli references, what is it? People that are associated, circumstances that are associated with that wonderful food. And so there are multiple ways in which that sensation of eating these delicious tiny Chinese dishes, like pot stickers or dim sum, all these wonderful flavors. There are multiple ways in which one can enjoy that, and in which one is also again reminded of that, or you could say busy with that, affected by that. Because if I see a picture of roasted pork, then it's not that I imagine, but immediately my body responds, And if I smell that smell, oh, that smells so good. Or see the roasted duck hanging in the window, I get hungry. Anyways, so where am I going with all this? Well, there are many different stimuli that sort of converge on, any particular kind of thing, like eating Chinese food. And and the same is of course true for our embodied language. I mean, in embodied language, a person listens to him or herself while he or she speaks, and that is of course the most important part of it. You could compare it like, well, if you do not put the food in your mouth, there's no real experience of that food, right? And you can eat, you can smell it. Good morning. Hi. You can smell it, you can see it, but that's of course not the same as tasting it and eating it, and swallowing it and being satiated by having eaten Chinese food. So there are multiple stimuli involved in our embodied language. So I would like to sort of just explore in this video. I would like to explore, like, okay, you see me also riding my bicycle, and perhaps if that was something that you also did, and if you also would speak with yourself while riding your bicycle, then riding your bicycle would also become something as an activity that would trigger, probably, that would somehow, elicit that response of embodied language. Because riding your bicycle is like a balancing act, you're balancing with your bicycle over the street and you're pedaling. And ideally, of course, it is nice weather and you're just by yourself and you're holding a phone in your hand like I do. I mean, I'm just saying, So all these things are involved in my embodied language. I mean, currently at least. I mean, of course, there could be other things involved as well. If I was, let's say, if I was to be sitting at home very often, and I do. So there's that aspect of it where I sit in front of my computer, or where I sit in my chair, and I don't know, I play some music, or I talk about some stuff that's going on with myself, by myself, or I write something. All of these things, they all have their influence on my embodied language. What I'm saying here is of course, that embodied language is not just something by itself. No, it goes together with a whole bunch of other behaviors. Yeah, I take good care of myself. I have a happy relationship with my wife. I work. Good morning. I say hello to people. Yeah, I stay away from negativity. Yeah, I stay away from disembodied language. Yeah, I listen to myself, obviously. Yeah, and I know myself because of my embodied language. So. Do you see how much it involves? And yeah, I also have an ability to, with my language, to, yeah, we call that self-reflection, but I do not call it self-reflection. I simply call it saying what you are able to say, and saying what you're willing to say, and saying what you are capable of saying, because, yeah, the situation that you create with all these other these other things that you do besides just talking and listening to yourself, they all make it possible that you have embodied language. Yeah, so my whole life is actually built around embodied language, and yeah, that's why I'm having it every day. Isn't that nice? And so, what it also means is that no, I'm not always having the opportunity to have embodied language, because, you know, in my work, for instance, or I don't know, maybe the weather is not good and I don't want to go out, or, you know, luckily I can ride my wife's bicycle today. But because my own bicycle has a flat tire. So how did that happen? I don't know. I just came to the garage this morning and I see that my bicycle had a flat tire. In any case, if your bicycle has a flat tire, yeah, then you cannot go out. So what I'm saying here is then, luckily I can take my wife's bicycle for a change. But what I'm saying is, if I didn't have a bicycle, then I wouldn't be able to go on this bike ride. But I would have done other things, and perhaps I wouldn't have any kind of thing to do with embodied language, but somehow the behaviors that I'm involved in, which may have done nothing to do with embodied language, for instance, maybe I just pull out the garbage cans or something like that, or maybe I vacuum clean the house or something like that, you know, I don't know, anything I do. Or I clean up my room. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. You know, anything I do, it doesn't not necessarily have to do with embodied language, but it somehow still reminds me of embodied language. It still, in some indirect way, refers to it, because it was connected with it, and it has existed together with embodied language. And so now we are talking about how the past experiences also are, yeah, you could say reminded, if you talk about it, or if you would look at pictures of the past. I looked at some pictures yesterday night. I was on the internet and I was Googling And all of a sudden I was in the neighborhood where I grew up. And I saw some pictures of the streets that I walked as a kid. And yeah, this is especially in this time something that I felt comforted by, because my father has recently died. And I wrote also an email yesterday to my brother about how I felt regarding my father's passing away and not being with the rest of the family, because I am here in the United States and they are in the Netherlands. And yeah, it is just a fact of life that my family I am not very close with. And it's also a fact of life that to have embodied language I have had to stay away from my family. And so and I've done that. And so that doesn't mean that I never sent an email or that I never want to talk with them, but it is really a fact that I have had to acknowledge for myself, that to continue with my embodied language I could no longer deal with my family. I could no longer hang out with my family. I could no longer be obsessed or upset or frustrated about my family. And that has had a that frustration or that turmoil, I felt for so long. And so it is also very good for me to have done that. And so, as I was saying, I was writing an email to my brother yesterday. So all of it kind of goes together also with me being on the internet and looking at pictures of, because I don't have myself any boxes full of pictures from the past. I'm not a person who is having any such collections or picture books. I just don't have that. I don't care about it enough to have that. And so I do have some pictures somewhere in a box, but I never look at them. And I could have, but I don't. And so all I'm saying here is that yesterday night, writing that email and then looking at these. So now we're talking about a memory, and not just one memory from yesterday night, but a lot of memories, all the memories that you've had with embodied language, and also what prevented you from embodied language, because that is of course what I'm referring to when I describe my you could say complicated and troublesome relationship with my family, which I've left behind because of my embodied language. So now, is that enough? It's funny, I've made videos before, and I go on a bike ride. I start at certain moments, and then I talk for a certain while. Then I reach this point here, and I kind of feel like that's always a certain point where I either had enough or I continue. And I believe today I'll continue some more. And I go and walk also. That's another thing, because my butt gets kind of sore from sitting on the saddle. So I'm going to walk a little bit here. This is where I am, Butte County in Chico, California. Let me just sniff my nose here. Oh shoot! I let the bicycle fall out of my hand. That's not good. Okay. Ay, ay, ay. No, nothing broke. Yeah, when I walk like this, everything is of course much calmer, and it feels like when I talk and ride my bicycle, then it seems almost as if the talking is generated by the pedaling. And then while walking here, that's what I was just talking about. You know, now there's a different activity. Now I'm walking. Now the embodied language is generated by the walking. And you can tell also there's different kinds of embodied language, of course. There's embodied language while riding your bicycle, and there is embodied language while walking. Yeah. Hello. It's going to be another warm day today. And as you can tell, there's embodied language being still. And then shall I still go on? Shall I still go on riding my bicycle, or shall I return? I might actually return back home after this. I don't have the urge to ride much further. And I all of a sudden don't have much of an urge anymore to speak or to say more. Although that may change. I see mosquitoes. Whoopla. You see, this is the problem. Where I am, there are mosquitoes, and when I start walking, they start landing on me, and that is something I like to prevent. So I get going again. All right.